the time provided for the consideration of this item on a private member's business has now expired, and the order is dropped to the bottom of the order of precedence on the order paper. Pursuant to Standing Order 37, the House will now proceed to the consideration of Bill C-224 under private member's business.
Affaires émanant des députés, private members' business, resuming consideration at second reading of Bill C-224, an act to amend the Food and Drugs Act, Natural Health Products, bill standing in the name of Mr. Calkins.
Resuming debate of the priest debate, the Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government declared a war on natural health products, not on opioids, or fentanyl, or drugs. No, they declared a war on your vitamins, your supplements, and your herbal medicines. They're targeting your mother, who takes a supplement for her joints because she's waiting 8 months to see a specialist. They're targeting your father, who takes fish oil every morning because his doctor told him to watch his heart. They're targeting your child, who takes Flintstone vitamin at breakfast to strengthen their bones. And let's be clear about who uses natural health products in this country. These are not fringe Canadians. These are millions of ordinary people who are doing exactly what we should want them to do, taking responsibility for their own health and wellness on their own terms. But they are precisely who this government chose to go after. The government isn't going after the pharmaceutical companies that got Canadians hooked on opioids or the fentanyl traffickers who are killing Canadians. The government is going after Canadians standing in the supermarket aisles of a grocery store, reading a label, and making an informed decision about their health. Mr. Speaker, in 2023, buried deep inside of Bill C-47, an omnibus budget bill, the Liberals quietly reclassified natural health products as therapeutic products under the Food and Drugs Act. This is the same legal category as prescription drugs. Ask yourself this: should a scoop of protein powder fall under the same regulations as insulin? Should a multivitamin be placed in the same category as Tylenol? I certainly don't think so, and neither do Canadians. So why bury this policy in a budget bill? Because if the Liberals said, hey, we want to regulate your vitamins like pharmaceuticals, in a standalone bill, it would have survived public scrutiny. So they hid it in a budget bill and hoped Canadians wouldn't read the fine print. But guess what? They did. And now the consequences are unfolding in Canada. 1 in 5 companies within the industry say regulations are forcing them to consider shutting down. 3 out of 4 companies say there's a high chance they'll have to pull products from shelves. 83%, nearly the entire sector, say they have little to no capacity to absorb the cost. And here's the irony of the decision. When you overregulate Canadian businesses out of existence, it doesn't stop Canadians from buying supplements. In fact, you drive them online to American companies that are not subject to Health Canada's regime at all.
That's right.
Many of the natural health products being sold directly to consumers in Canada don't even have an NPN, which is a natural product number that is required for Canadian standards. The government's crackdown on Canadian businesses does not make Canadians safer. It actually makes them less safe while gutting Canadian jobs in the process. This policy is clearly regulatory overreach that serves no one but the bureaucrats at Health Canada who designed it to protect their own jobs. Mr. Speaker, let's be honest about what the Canadian healthcare system looks like right now. 6 million Canadians don't have a family doctor. The average wait time to see a specialist is around 30 weeks. And Canadians are making decisions about their health in the waiting room of a walk-in clinic because that's the only option available to them. That is the reality. And because of that reality, natural health products are the lifeline for many Canadians. This matters because a system already at the breaking point cannot afford to lose something helping to keep people out of the system. When Canadians stay healthier through prevention, they are not just helping themselves, they are helping the healthcare system that desperately needs relief. If the government were serious about improving the health of Canadians, it would focus on the national tragedy unfolding on our streets and in our hospitals. Mr. Speaker, the pharmaceutical industry has done incredible things for humanity. The products developed over the last century have extended and saved countless lives. When Canadians are sick, they need those products, and I am grateful for that they exist. But the pharmaceutical model is fundamentally a reactive one. It's primarily designed to treat illness. That's not a criticism. It's simply what it does. On the other hand, natural health product model is fundamentally a preventative one. Vitamins and supplements are products Canadians use to stay healthy and prevent illness. That difference in purpose reflects a difference in how these industries operate. The pharmaceutical industry invests billions in drug development because they protect the patent. They recoup their investment over the life of that patent. That model funds research and trials and ultimately the treatments Canadians need. On the other hand, natural health products work differently. You cannot patent a natural vitamin. You cannot own vitamin D, for example. These are naturally occurring substances available to any company in an open market. This model drives down prices for consumers and creates a very competitive market. My point is, these are not just different products. They are fundamentally different business models, and they were never designed to operate under the same rules. Mr. Speaker, underneath this fight over natural health products, there is something more fundamental at stake, and that is trust. Canadians came out of the pandemic with increased skepticism towards institutions and healthcare. They watched governments make decisions that affected them deeply, often without explanation and sometimes without accountability. So when the Liberals quietly reclassified natural health products that millions of Canadians use every single day, that trust eroded again. We should remind ourselves that Canadians are capable of making informed and responsible decisions about their well-being. Mr. Speaker, that brings me to the most important point of all. Who is actually standing up to fix this? The Conservatives are. My colleague, the member from Red Deer-Lacombe, has once again stepped up on behalf of millions of Canadians. He has introduced Bill C-224, an act to amend the Food and Drugs Act. And as the Conservative Shadow Minister for Health, I fully support it. Bill C-224 removes the natural health products from the same regulatory category as pharmaceuticals and restores the Made in Canada framework that protects both consumer safety and the Canadian industry. It ensures that Canadians can continue to access the protein powders, vitamins, probiotics, and supplements they rely on every single day, while protecting the competitive Canadian businesses that make them. I believe that Canada should regulate a vitamin like a vitamin, not like a prescription drug. Mr. Speaker, Conservatives believe Canadians deserve access to natural health products. We believe in personal responsibility and in a government that respects the decisions of Canadians make about their health. If we are serious about long-term sustainability of Canadian healthcare, we must treat natural healthcare products as part of the solution, not as a threat to be regulated out of existence. Every Canadian who stays healthier longer through prevention is a Canadian who places less demand on an already overburdened healthcare system. That is good for patients, that is good for taxpayers, that is good for Canada. So to the millions of Canadians who use natural health products, who take a supplement every morning, who read the label, and simply choose to invest in their own health, I say this: we see you, we hear you, and we are fighting for you. This government declared a war on your vitamins, but Conservatives are fighting back to save your supplements and protect natural health products. Thank you.
Resuming debate. Please do that. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government, or to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am honored to have the opportunity to speak about Bill C-224. This is an important bill that impacts millions of Canadians who rely on natural health products as part of their daily health and wellness routines, and who want to know that the products they're using and consuming are safe. I think all of us recognize that this bill has some ideas worth exploring. Our government is always open to ideas that help Canadian businesses thrive and ensure Canadians have access to safe, effective, natural health products. In fact, one of our new government's top priorities was to remove burdensome red tape in regulation, and we have seen this promise in action in the natural health product sector. Our government heard from natural health product companies that they were finding some new regulations were too onerous or didn't do what they set out to do. In response, we paused some of these regulations and limited the scope of others. Canada's natural health product industry is a huge part of the economy, and we want to make sure that these companies can thrive. But we also want to make sure that Canadians can trust that the natural health products they rely on are safe, and what they say on the label is what is actually in them. After all, the term natural health products encompasses a wide range of products, and you only need to look at the Health Canada recall page to see that. Sometimes mistakes are made. There can be mislabeled products, there can be undeclared ingredients. In one extreme case last year, a range of multivitamins and supplements had to be recalled across Canada because they contained metal fibers. These recalls are rare, but they show how even seemingly safe products that are authorized and widely used can still have some risks. That is what makes some regulatory oversight so important. Having food and drug safety regulations that ensure the products on store shelves are safe, effective, and of high quality helps Canadian consumers and Canadian companies alike. These regulations build trust and confidence in the system. Consumers trust the products on store shelves are what they say they are, while business get to operate in a level playing field. It also makes Canada a more attractive destination for companies looking to expand, because they know that we have a regulatory system in place that maintains some of the highest food and drug safety standards in the world. The unintended consequences of Bill C-224 are that rather than simply reducing the regulatory burden on natural health products companies, it could make people less certain about the products they're using. Under the current laws and regulations, the Minister of Health has a number of important powers. They can order a product to recall, they can require changes to labels or packaging, they can request additional information about a product when they suspect the product poses a serious risk to human health. They can issue fines against companies who refuse to take unsafe products off the shelf. These are all important tools to protect consumers, and the way it is currently written in the bill would remove these tools altogether. I know that the bill's sponsor, the member for Ponoka Disbury, is a longtime advocate for natural health products. During the previous Parliament, he introduced the forerunner of this bill, C-368, which had many of the same provisions. I'll pause here to note that one important difference between C-368 and C-224 is that the current bill doesn't exempt nicotine products from the Food and Drug Act, which is a significant improvement. Both bills are a considerable attempt to help natural health product companies continue to grow and thrive. This is a goal all of us share. It's certainly a goal of our new government. It is why we've been working closely with our natural health product industry and stakeholders as part of our red tape review to streamline and reduce unnecessary regulatory burden. Thanks to the red tape review, Health Canada is shifting to a risk-based approach to oversight that will reduce pre-market requirements for natural health products, while shifting direct oversight and resources to higher risk areas. It also put a pause on new labeling requirements and is continuing to work with natural health product companies to address their concerns. We also recognize that a key part of working with the natural health product industry is flexibility. We can just apply a one-size-fits-all regulatory approach. One of the important pieces of legislation passed by the previous government was Bill C-69, which gave the Minister of Health the flexibility to respond to urgent and emerging regulatory challenges as they arise with tailored options and solutions. In a world where both industry and government are constantly facing evolving challenges, this kind of flexibility is essential. This important work needs to continue, and I think there is room within the current bill to allow it to continue, which is why I look forward to voting for this bill and studying it at the Health Committee. But we also need to make sure there are rules and regulations in place to protect Canadian consumers. When Canadians reach for products on store shelves, they need to have the confidence in the safety and trust that the label accurately represents the product. If they don't have that confidence, if they can't trust the product they're buying, it will hurt the entire health product industry, and by extension, our economy. There's an important balance we need to find, and I hope we can study this bill at committee to make sure that it strikes the right balance. One that ensures Canadians can have peace of mind when it comes to the products they buy, and that Canadian natural health product companies has a tool they need to grow and thrive. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Resuming debate. Reprise du débat. Resuming debate. Being none, I will resuming debate. L'honorable député de Rimouski-Lamatypédia.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Lamatypédia. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Today we are debating Bill C-224, brought forward by my Conservative colleague for Red Deer Lacombe. It aims to amend the Food and Drugs Act to exclude natural health products. And that means that natural health products would not be subject to the same monitoring regime as other therapeutic products, those under Vanessa's Act. Let's recall that Vanessa's Act was adopted in 2014 after the tragic decease in order to strengthen the Minister of Health's powers to protect the public against dangerous products. This act would enable labeling to be modified, it would enable products to be banned, and it would be in order to be able to order mandatory recalls. For a long time, natural health products were not subject to these powers, but just because they're natural does not necessarily mean that they are safe. Probiotics, minerals, vitamins, herbal remedies, and traditional medicines are now a significant industry, and it's worth $4 to $5 billion a year, this industry. We estimate that 73% of Canadians regularly use this type of product. The label natural inspires confidence, but natural does not mean that it's safe. And it does not mean there are no side effects. And natural does not mean that it does not need monitoring. These products can interact with prescribed medication, can lead to serious side effects, and in some cases even lead to very serious consequences. For example, let's consider the interactions that we know of between prescribed medication that can reduce the effectiveness of a treatment or increase health risks. Let's also consider the sad case of Michel Joannette, who developed hepatitis after using an online natural product when hoping to gain weight. And so these situations remind us of the simple reality that natural things are not automatically safe. In 2021, the Environment and Sustainable Development Commission of Canada published a report on Health Canada's monitoring of these products. It was concerning. It concluded that the monitoring was not something that had guaranteed the fact that these products were safe and effective. The Commissioner identified a number of significant problems. First of all, Health Canada was not able to order a mandatory recall of a natural health product even when there were serious health risks. In addition, there were serious gaps in manufacturing site inspections. And once these products were on the market, they were also not inspected sufficiently. Additionally, the department did not always have the necessary tools to appropriately detect non-certified products or wrongful advertising. The numbers are clear. The number of reports of undesirable effects associated to these products went from 22,000 in 2010 to almost 100,000 in 2019. The federal government decided to act because of it in 2023 under Bill C-47. These products were placed under some provisions of Vanessa's law. This enables the department to bring in mandatory recalls when it's a matter of public safety. But Bill C-224 would take a step backward on this decision. Let's be clear, the Bloc Québécois recognizes that natural health products should not be treated exactly the same as prescription medication. They are part of a distinct category. But they should not be treated as foods either. We have a simple and balanced perspective. Natural health products are not medication, but they are also not without risk. They need to be appropriately monitored. So the central question is the following one. Are we going to weaken our tools for protecting public health? Because in its current form, Bill C-224 raises a serious concern. If it were adopted in its current form, the minister might not be able to bring in a mandatory recall when the product represents something dangerous for the public. Let's imagine for a moment a product contaminated by something like E. coli. If there weren't that authority for recall, removing the product would depend essentially on manufacturer goodwill. This is a situation that the Auditor General themselves judged to be completely inappropriate. We should not backslide on this. But that said, the Bloc Québécois believes that this bill does deserve to be seriously studied at committee. That's why we will support this bill at second reading so that it can be studied in depth. But we will be very clear about one thing. Our final support will depend on an essential condition. Mandatory recall powers must remain. Protecting the public must never be weakened in the name of deregulation. Quebecers must be able to trust in the safety of what they are consuming, which means that what is sold on our market must respect rigorous standards. Labeling must be clear, claims must be true, and the government must have any necessary tools to take action when public health is threatened. Clear regulation like this protects consumers, yes, but it also protects serious businesses that respect the rules. So really, it's a simple matter. The popularity of a product cannot guarantee either its effectiveness or its safety. And as legislators, our primary responsibility is to protect people's health. So we will keep an open mind on this bill, but we have a very clear red line. Public health must always be an absolute priority. Thank you very much.
Resuming debate. Reprise du débat avec l'honorable member for Alderman Norfolk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are a few issues, Mr. Speaker, over the last few years that I've heard consistently so much about. And this is not just in my riding of Alderman Norfolk. This is across the entire country. Among those are cost of living, erosion of freedom, and individual choice, ranked very high at the top. The bill that we're debating today goes to the very heart of the fundamental concerns that Canadians are raising. Mr. Speaker, this bill is not just about natural health care products. It is about freedom of choice. And it is also about affordability and whether Canadians can still afford the basic essentials that they have always counted on every single day. I'm not sure that most members of this House have experienced a time when they have been without a doctor, or when they have, I know that they've experienced waking up and potentially having a cold or a sore throat or a cough. And they've possibly considered using vitamins to fight that cold, or purchasing some sort of alternative care, such as vitamin C or echinacea, or even drinking medicinal tea. Those common remedies are not uncommon products. These are part of ordinary Canadian life. In fact, a strong majority of Canadians, 70% in fact, rely on vitamins or other natural health products, and they do so regularly to stay healthy during the long winter seasons, and they use it also to supplement their diets. These are not luxury items. For many of my constituents, these products are not optional. These are essential for their health and their well-being, and for the well-being of their families. That is why I am proud to speak in support today of the Common Sense Bill from my honourable colleague of Ponoka-Didsbury. Bill C-224. Ponoka-Didsbury, sorry. Bill C-224, an act to amend the Food and Drugs Act, the Natural Health Care Products. Bill C-224 moves to reverse the sweeping changes that the government made in 2023 to the Food and Drugs Act that change how natural health products are regulated in Canada. Prior to 2023, the natural health products were already regulated under Natural Health Products Regulations, which is a robust and clear framework introduced by the previous Conservative government under Prime Minister Stephen Harper. That framework provided sufficient oversight, it kept safe, and it recognized that vitamins are not pharmaceuticals. Since the Liberals changed the requirements in 2023, natural health products must now comply with an onerous labeling regimen, additional inspections and compliance measures, and mandatory recall orders. Also, additional government fees and the threat of a monetary penalty of up to $5 million per day for non-compliance. These same rules are used to regulate pharmaceuticals and prescription drugs. So the question that many Canadians have written to my office to ask is, why is it that the government is treating small Canadian vitamin brand businesses like high-risk pharmaceutical manufacturers? Mr. Speaker, Conservatives are not against regulation. There's a place for wise and precise government regulation. Regulations are meant to protect Canadians, to reduce the risk of harm, and to provide the necessary guardrails against misuse and abuse. But regulations must be proportionate. With little regulation, people obviously could get harmed. But with too much regulation, government moves from protection to control. It begins to dictate free choices, saddles businesses with red tape, and distorts the marketplace. Innovation becomes stifled, and Canadians' businesses ultimately suffer. And Canadians lose choice while paying higher price costs. When products disappear, choice shrinks. When compliance costs rise, prices increase. When domestic producers exit, foreign competitors fill that gap. Unfortunately, Canadians are seeing this pattern across multiple sectors: housing, agriculture, natural resources, and energy. Government red tape has already cost Canadian businesses over $50 billion every single year. Small and medium-sized businesses, which are the backbone of our economy, they bear the heaviest burden. And ultimately, Canadians pay the price. We must also consider this: 6 million Canadians are without a family doctor. Millions more are on wait lists for treatments and procedures. At the same time, when Canadians are navigating a strained healthcare system, we should not be making it harder for them to responsibly manage their own well-being. Yet, under this regulatory regime, that is exactly what is happening. Industry associations, small businesses, health practitioners, and consumers are all raising the alarm. 70% of brands say that they may pull their products from Canadian shelves. 1 in 5 may exit the Canadian market entirely. At minimum, prices will rise at a time when families are already struggling. Make no mistake, without Bill C-224, businesses will shut down or leave the Canadian market, and Canadians will lose access to products that they rely on. My office has been overwhelmed with calls, letters, and petitions about this issue over the past 3 years. This matters deeply to Canadians. The people of Haldimand Norfolk elected me to represent their voice, to speak the truth, and to push back when government overreach threatens their autonomy. Canadians want to return to a country where choice, affordability, and personal responsibility are respected by government. That is why this is not a partisan issue, Mr. Speaker. The bill speaks to the fundamental values that matter to every single Canadian: freedom, autonomy, and the dignity of an affordable life. This bill is not just about natural health products. It is about freedom of choice. In the previous Parliament, we saw cross-party support for this legislation. I urge all members to once again support this common-sense bill, not only in the interest of millions of Canadians who rely on natural health products and Canadian businesses that work every single day to supply products in a safe and responsible manner to Canadians who desire those products, but also to Canadians across this country, and also future generations who want to live in a Canada where freedom of choice abound, where businesses thrive, and where life is affordable, and the full promise of Canada deserves nothing less. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Resuming debate. Reprise du débat. The honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the last Parliament, the Liberals put forward Bill C-47, a budget bill that had buried within it provisions that attacked access to natural health products and attacked the natural health product industry. This was not standalone legislation. There was no consultation with those that were affected. It was simply an effort to sneak through legislative changes attacking natural health products buried into a budget bill. Conservatives opposed that budget. We opposed the fiscal direction the government was taking. And as part of that, of course, we opposed this attack on natural health products. And we tried to bring attention to this legislatively sneaky and substantively harmful action by the government attacking Canadians' access to natural health products. Following that, my colleague from the Red Deer area put forward legislation to reverse these changes. And now in this new Parliament, we have a bill trying to restore the previous situation with respect to access to natural health products. That is now Bill C-224. I commend my colleague for this important work. Restoring the long-standing, well-functioning, pre-existing system for access to and regulation of natural health products, and undoing the sneaky Liberal changes that were contained in their massive omnibus budget legislation. Now, at issue here is whether natural health products are subject to the same levels of regulation, administrative burden, etc., that are associated with pharmaceuticals. In many cases, when we're talking about natural health products, we're talking about vitamins and minerals, which people take to replace what may be deficiencies in their diet. There are certain nutrients, certain vitamins, certain minerals that we are designed as human beings to have as part of our diet, but that for whatever reason, perhaps it's where we are, what we eat, or aspects of what foods we have access to, that we have certain deficiencies in vitamins or minerals that we seek to make up for through this kind of supplementation. But in the case especially of vitamins and minerals, we're talking about the very natural effort to restore what had historically been part of our diet as humans, to ensure we are taking in products that are naturally required for the normal, healthy functioning of the human person. And one example that gets cited often is vitamin D. We live in a cold country, if you hadn't noticed, which means people spend relatively less time outside here living in Canada than they might have in other places and times where our ancestors came from, which means generally we have lower levels of vitamin D. Vitamin D being a vitamin that you can get through exposure to the sun. And in fact, I think there was a lot of good data during the COVID period identifying that there was greater risks associated with COVID for those with lower vitamin D deficiency. I think this was well established and well documented, and I encouraged the government at the time to share and promote this information. Many Canadians, recognizing the importance of having the vitamins and minerals that you're supposed to have, recognizing the risks of deficiencies, many Canadians choose to supplement their diet with these kinds of natural health products, and treating them, applying the levels of regulation that are associated with pharmaceutical interventions just doesn't make sense. It clearly is a miscategorization, an application of the wrong kind of regulation, and I think this is widely understood and widely appreciated. The changes the government snuck into their omnibus budget bill did not make sense substantively and did not respect the choice of Canadians. The fact that regardless of an individual's particular opinion about a natural health product, we have the means of accessing information about them, and individuals can and do make considered choices about this. We don't need an overly paternalistic government telling people that they must have the same regulation to vitamins and minerals as is applied to pharmaceutical products. So I am strongly in support of this bill. It aligns with choice. It recognizes the realities of the benefits of these products, benefits that many Canadians have seen and understand. Briefly, Mr. Speaker, I want to comment on a related issue, which is access to training for allied health professionals. In the course of my work as the Shadow Minister for Employment, I've been speaking a lot with people in the field of traditional Chinese medicine. And people in the field of traditional Chinese medicine are very concerned about a change snuck into this year's budget bill, where the government cut off or proposed to cut off student grants from students attending private for-profit institutions. And this is where the vast majority of students in Canada studying to become traditional Chinese medicine practitioners go. So you have a situation where first the government is making changes that attack access to natural health products buried in a budget bill. And then you have a case where the government is, again buried in a budget bill, attacking access to training for those who are practicing traditional Chinese medicine. And this makes it very, very difficult for people in the Chinese community, but also people outside the Chinese community who benefit from or rely on traditional Chinese medicine to access these kinds of services. And in a free, multicultural country, Mr. Speaker, I think we want Canadians to have choice and flexibility and to be able to access the wisdom and the experience of other cultures and other traditions. I think there is value in people having the choice and the flexibility to do that without the government proceeding with multiple attacks against these communities, again, always, it seems, buried in budget bills. So I commend my colleague for undoing or seeking to undo the damage that Liberals have done in terms of access to natural health products. This bill, C-224, is a great bill trying to undo that damage, and we will continue this work as we see more persistent attacks from the Liberals on this community. Of all the problems we face in this country, it's hard to understand why it has been a priority for Liberals to make life more difficult for people who are trying to take vitamins, or to make life more difficult for people that are trying to access acupuncture but maybe are worried that they won't be able to as a result of these changes to student grants. But I would ask the government, again, of all the problems in this country and of all the problems in the world, why did they choose this attack on responsible, law-abiding citizens who simply are trying to exercise choice and trying to be healthy? That's a question that maybe we'll hear an answer from the government on at some point. But again, I look forward to hearing from my colleague, the sponsor of this bill. This is a great bill, and I look forward to supporting it and support the people in my riding across the country who rely on natural health products to maintain and manage their health. Thank you.
Resuming debate. Reprise du débat. I will therefore invite the honourable member for Ponoka-Disbury for his 5-minute right of reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank all the colleagues who spoke here in the House tonight at the second hour of debate on Bill C-224. As has been mentioned, Mr. Speaker, this is the second Parliament that I have tabled this bill in. In the previous Parliament, it was Bill C-368. It did pass its second reading in this place, but it wasn't unanimous, and it went through the committee process in the last Parliament, but it was basically stopped on the order paper with the prorogation and subsequent election. And now we have a new Parliament, and I was very fortunate to get drawn very high and in the first tranche of private members' business, and I was more than happy on behalf of the 80% of Canadians, some 30 million Canadians, that use natural health products on a regular, routine basis to improve the quality of their life at a time when it's hard enough in this country to make ends meet, to get by, to find a doctor, to look after oneself. It seemed pretty straightforward and easy for me to get behind this cause. And not only am I a user of these natural health products myself, Mr. Speaker, but I know so many friends and family members who also do the same thing. And my constituents in Ponoka-Disbury in the previous Parliament, it was Red Deer Lacombe, all have been very supportive of what I've done. I've traveled across the country to meet with health store owners, to meet with various stakeholders, to meet with Canadians on a regular basis about this. It is an issue that's very important. I'm glad that we're actually having this conversation today. As you may recall, Mr. Speaker, in the previous Parliament, the changes to the definition of natural health products was changed in Bill C-47, which was a budget implementation bill. Nobody knew that this was coming, Mr. Speaker. It was underhanded, it was sneaky, and that was the approach of the previous government, the previous Parliament. There was no consultation with the Natural Health Products Protection Association, the Health Food Association. Nobody even knew it was there. As a matter of fact, there was basic radio silence for about 6 months until somebody actually figured out that those 4 little clauses in that bill had actually been passed, and subsequent changes to the self-care framework were being implemented by Health Canada. And that's when the lid kind of blew off the whole process and people started getting involved. And just to take us back to where we were, this is not some Wild West non-regulated area of responsibility. The natural health products have been very highly regulated in Canada for a long time. As a matter of fact, IADSA, the International Alliance for Dietary Food Supplement Associations, dietary food supplements, these are not therapeutic drugs, these are dietary food supplements, basically had Canada's regulatory regime ranked as the gold standard around the world. As a matter of fact, we were exporting these products because importers and agencies from around the world trusted that Made in Canada label, and they trusted that natural product number. So this was a solution that was actually in search of a problem, and it blew up in the government's face. And there's no reason at all that natural health products should get caught up in the clutches of Vanessa's Law. Very important piece of legislation and work, but we need to actually treat natural health products what they are. They're a standalone category, and that's what my bill seeks to do, is to take us basically back to where we were prior to Bill C-47. I made one small adjustment to this bill in this particular Parliament to exempt nicotine from that, because I believe, and I think many people would seem to think it would be reasonable, that nicotine should be managed in a completely different and separate from natural health products and therapeutic products. So I'm looking forward to my colleagues having that debate should this bill get to committee. I want to thank our colleagues in the Bloc Québécois, actually, I think he was a little bit upset that I didn't include the amendment to deal with recall. I know that that's going to come up again in the debate should this bill get to second reading. And while I know I only have 1 minute left, even though there's a good 15 minutes left in the second hour of debate, Mr. Speaker, I do want to say some thank yous. If you'll permit me to, even if I go a little bit longer. I want to say thank you to the Natural Health Product Protection Association, specifically Sean and Teresa Buckley, for their continued advocacy for freedom of choice for Canadians on this issue and so many more. Thank you so much for the work that you do. To the Canadian Health Food Association, particularly Jules, Sonia, and Wenjing, thank you so much for the work that you do and advocating on behalf of the retailers and the entire industry, the producers, retailers, everybody. But most importantly, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Canadians who are watching right now. Like I said, 80% of Canadians use these natural health products, and it's your support for your own right to choose your health outcomes. You were the ones that signed those cards that we all got. You are the ones that signed the petitions. You are the ones that wrote the emails. You were the ones that made the calls to MPs' offices, and you've changed the tide on this debate in this country, and your House should be responding to you. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm looking very much forward to the continuation of this bill as it goes through the legislative process. I want to thank everybody that's been supportive. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. The question is as follows. Mr. Calkins, seconded by Ms. Cody, move that Bill C-224, an act to amend the Food and Drugs Act, Natural Health Products, be now read a second time and referred to the Standing Committee on Health. If a member participating in person wishes the motion be carried or carried on division, or if a member of a recognized party participating in person wishes to request a recorded division, I would invite them to rise and indicate it to the chair. The Honourable Member for Ponoka, Tisbury.
Mr. Speaker, I would like that this bill be passed unanimously.
Is it agreed? Yes, agreed. Agreed. I therefore declare the motion carried.
Reading of this bill. Deuxième lecture de ce projet de loi.
Accordingly, this bill stands referred to the Standing Committee on Health.